Isaiah chapter 7 is not only a snapshot in history of what happened, it's also a timeless message. There is a timeless gem in there if we're paying attention to what's happening. It's a story about a king who's scared, doesn't know what to do. It's a story about a prophet, bold and strong, doing what God is telling him to do. And it's a story about our God, who's faithful to the point beyond anyone can imagine. So, let's look into this chapter. Let's dive into it and start unpacking it to see what it means to us today, in the year 2025, when the world is full of uncertainty and everything seems to be up in the air. Let's look at the setting. You heard the name King Ahaz. Last chapter, chapter 6, we dealt with his grandfather. Isaiah skips his father's reign and goes right into the grandson's reign, because that's when something very remarkable happened. Imagine for a moment you are this king. His name is Ahaz. You're the king of the southern kingdom of Judah. And one day you hear an offer from the two neighboring kingdoms, king of Syria and the king of the northern kingdom, king of Israel, make you an offer and saying, let's come together, all three of us, and we will attack this kingdom of Assyria who's growing, is becoming a problem. And you say, no, I don't think I'm interested in waging war against Assyria. And then these two kings say, if that's the case, we're coming after you. So they get together, they start marching against the southern kingdom. Syria and Israel is going after Judah right now. And their mission, their goal is to take over Judah, the southern kingdom, get rid of this king, and put a puppet king whom they could control and wage war against Assyria. Now, the Bible says in verse 2, when Ahaz and his people heard this, their hearts shook like the trees of the forest shake before the wind. Have you seen a bunch of trees in a windy environment? Like, it was really windy here the other night, and those big trees that we have in the parking lot, you should have seen it. It was scary. I thought they were all going to break. It just shakes. You don't think that a tree can bend that far, but it does. Thank God nothing happened. But they were shaking in their boots. They were afraid because they're a tiny little kingdom. Here these two big ones are coming. So what do? Kingdom is on edge. Everybody's afraid. Enter Isaiah. God sends Isaiah with a message. God tells Ahaz through Isaiah, in verse 4, be careful, keep calm, and don't be afraid. Do not lose heart because of these two smoldering stubs of firewood. Now, image is very powerful. God is saying through Isaiah that these two kingdoms that you're so afraid of, they're nothing but burned out firewoods. Do you guys have a fireplace, or have you seen a fireplace, or if you had some kind of a campground and you burned some wood and the fire is out, it just starts dying, smoldering. There is no really fire, just a little smoke and a little heat, but it's about to die, right? That's the picture. Here is Ahaz, afraid of these two kingdoms. And God is saying, hey, don't pay any mind to that. They're gone. There is nothing behind it. It's all show. You don't know that. You know their size, their army, their capability. So, who are you going to believe? Well, sitting here in church pew, the answer will be, sure, I'm going to believe God, right? Really? When we face similar situations in our lives, what do? When we are afraid, what are the kinds of decisions we make? We're going to talk more about that. And God says, they're not as big as you think. He's saying, I got everything under control. But does Ahaz believe this message? In verse 9, is something you should underline and memorize. Isaiah delivers one of the most memorable lines that we need to really ingrain in our heads. If you do not stand firm in your faith, you will not stand at all. This is what he told Ahaz. If you will not stand firm in your faith, you will not stand at all. If you don't trust me, if you don't do things my way, you will not be here. If you don't trust me, if you don't do things my way, you will never achieve what you're trying to achieve in the way you want to achieve it. If you don't trust me and do things my way, you will end up losing. That's what he's saying. But remember the situation he's in. Two kingdoms are on the march to kill him and take over his country. And they're more than capable of doing it. Here's a prophet saying that this is what God says. What do? Then the sign. Now when Ahaz hears this, he doesn't exactly jump up with joy and say, hey, praise the Lord, he's going to deliver us. He's like, okay, let's see what's going to happen here, right? But then God does something, says something that I wish he would tell me often. He said, Isaiah says, ask a sign from the Lord. From the depth of the sea to the heavens up above. I will show it to you, God says. Isaiah is saying, God's going to show you a sign to prove that it's him saying, have faith, stand firm, don't do anything stupid, just trust me. And I will show you a sign. What would you do? If God told you something and you weren't sure if it was God and God said, I will show you a sign, what would you do? I would jump at the chance. Okay, Lord, if this is you, that, whatever happened. That's what God offers. What does Ahaz say, though? Ahaz says in verse 12, I will not ask. I will not put the Lord to the test. Sounds so religious and pious and humble, right? In essence, that's not what's happening. He had already made up his mind. He was going to go to Assyria for help, which is going to, and we will see in the next few chapters, going to have disastrous outcomes. In the short term, it will give him victory. But in the long term, it is going to be disastrous for him and his people and the future of the country. So he's not being pious. And then Isaiah says, one of the most famous prophecies of all time, says, okay, if you will not ask for a sign, Lord himself will give you a sign. A virgin will conceive and give birth to a son, and will call his name Emmanuel, God with us. Now, at this point, I want to take a couple minutes and explain something that exists in biblical prophecy. It's the concept of near and far. There are certain prophecies in the Bible that have both near implications and far implications. This is one of them. The context is, when Isaiah prophesied this to Ahaz, either a child in Ahaz's household was going to be born, or Isaiah's own son who was going to be born. And before he grew up and knew right from wrong, the countries would be defeated. That was the prophecy, right? But there is a longer, far-reaching prophecy, as you know. This is about the birth of Christ in Matthew 1:23. It's the ultimate sign of God's presence. God coming to earth. God coming, living like us, becoming one of us. And I want to give you a few more. I'm not going to get into all of them, but I want you guys to be more familiar with the concept. Let's look at the first one. That's in Genesis 3:15. That's the seed of a woman. The text will read, I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your seed and her seed. He shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise him on the heel. Now, what is this talking about? This is immediately after the fall. This is the curse that the serpent receives. The near implication is the enmity between man and the snake, between mankind and the war against sin, right? But the far implication, as you know, is the Christ was born of a woman, crushed Satan's head through death and resurrection, while Satan bruised his heel on the cross. That was the far implication of that prophecy. Other ones in Genesis 49, the scepter of Judah, Deuteronomy 18, prophet like Moses, 2 Samuel, David's everlasting throne, Joel 2, outpouring of the Spirit, Daniel 7, the Son of Man, Micah 5, ruler from Bethlehem. These are, and there is more, but these are some of the things that has happened in the past where a prophecy will have a near implication and far implication. Now, what does this mean to us today? What does this mean to you where you are in your life? In school, at work, at home, wherever you are. When you're going through your struggles, your life, the toil, and the turmoil of life, what does this mean to you? What is God saying through these events? His word to you, to us, all of us. First, fear is a lousy advisor. Okay? Fear is a bad advisor. Do not make decisions as an outcome of your fear. Do not allow fear to be your motivation for your decisions. Ahaz was shaking in his boots, and it led him to Assyria rather than God. And the consequences were awful. Awful. But he couldn't see it. He only saw the problem right in front of him. He needed to fix and the solution. He didn't know what was going to happen. Even though God warned him, he didn't listen. He didn't pay attention. Because he thought he knew better. He thought God didn't care. He thought God wasn't in all this. But just so that he understood, God gave him the prophecy of Emmanuel, God with us. He's saying, I'm with you, even though this seems impossible, even though it seems like there is no hope, even though you see these huge kingdoms coming at you, they could crush you just like this. Do things my way. Listen to me. And I'm telling you, in this instance, to have faith, trust me. Don't go to Assyria. Don't go here frantically. Don't go there. Calm down. Trust me. Stand in your faith. That's what God said. Is God saying that to you today? What are you fearful of? Often fear drives us to quick fixes, alliances that shouldn't be there, relationships that we should not pursue, distractions, and it pushes us away from God. And yet Isaiah's words are still true today. Be careful, be quiet, do not fear. Take a breath, look up, trust God, do things His way. Second, faith is the foundation. What did the verse say? If you do not stand firm in your faith, you will not stand at all. If you're not going to stand still, do things God's way, do things the way He's telling you, you're not going to be here. You're not going to achieve that thing. You're not going to get there. Whatever you're looking for, you're not going to get it. Even if you get it, it's going to crumble. Even if you achieve it, it's not going to mean anything. Even if you get there, you're going to be disappointed. If you don't stand in faith, you will not stand at all. How much do we trust God in our problems? What are the solutions we're looking for? To whom do we go for advice? Who do we trust? Who are our advisors? What are the decisions we're making in our difficulties? We all have them. We have health challenges, business challenges, family problems, children problems, grandchildren problems. All kinds of problems. In this life, you will have tribulation. We will have it. We are all trying to achieve something. We are all trying to get somewhere. We all have an end, finish line for something or situation. But how are we getting there? To whom are we listening to? How are we doing it? Ahaz made a mistake. He went to Assyria. God is saying, Emmanuel, I'm with you. Ahaz didn't listen to God's advice, God's direction. He could not see past his enemies. Is there anything in your life that you cannot see past? Are there any challenges you're facing that you cannot see past? Incidentally, last couple of weeks I've been going through something like that, so this is hitting home to me. If it's not hitting home to you guys, at the very least, this is really hitting home to me. There are certain situations that I could not see through. Do you have situations like that in your life that those you could not see past? Ahaz's two enemies coming down, he couldn't see past that. He couldn't even listen to God. What are the two enemies in your life that you cannot see past? You cannot see through. You're just stuck and shocked with fear, almost paralyzed, or you've given up, discouraged. You say, oh, I'll do whatever everybody else is doing. Or you trust your own wisdom. You go do things your way or your friend's way or the way everybody else does it. Or you're being logical or pragmatic. Or what is blinding your trust, taking it away in your life? Whatever it is. Take this as a message from the Word of God. If you do not stand firm in your faith, you will not stand at all. Don't compromise. Trust God. Do things His way. Don't give up. Trust Him. And as we close, if you put yourself in Ahaz's shoes, and you have these enemies coming, if you're shaking like the trees, don't be afraid. Stand firm, because remember, God is with you. Our job is to listen to Him and do what He says. He has everything else figured out. We do things His way, He will engineer the circumstances. Ahaz didn't know what was awaiting him and his family and his country because of the quick fix he made. God is not about quick fixes. You know, Ahaz could be likened to a man who constantly lies, get out of a jam. You know, you ask him a question, he just lies just to get out of it. Just lies here, lies there, lies there, thinks nothing of it. It's a pink lie, white lie, whatever. And it adds up, and adds up, and adds up. Nobody trusts him. He loses his dignity. And he loses his direction. Quick fixes is not the answer. Doing things God's way. The way He says it, in His timing, with His direction. That's where we need to be. We must stand firm. Whatever your challenge is, I don't know. I know mine. It's an encouragement to me that God is with us, so not to give up. He will work out the details. Our job is to do what He tells us to do. God bless you.